Hello everyone, it's Calxiyn here, and if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to check out our Patreon to support the channel, get early access to videos, or to join our Discord server. Today we will be doing a lyric breakdown and song analysis of Smile, the full version from the RWBY Volume 5 soundtrack. This is just how I see all the lyrics and what they could be referencing. There may not be a right or wrong answer here, but there was something that was confirmed, and Jeff confirmed that these are Ilya's parents singing the song. But the question that I want to explore here then, if these are Ilya's parents for real or not. So basically what I mean by this is, like, in Red Like Roses Part 2, it's RWBY and RWBY's mom Summer, right, singing back and forth to each other. But Jeff said that that's not the real Summer. That's just what RWBY would imagine her saying, basically. So my question is like, are these values or are these things that Ilya's parents said? Or is this what Ilya would imagine they say if they were still alive, if they saw her now? I think it's a mix of both, and that's why I really want to cover this, because I think it's a good mix of Ilya's parents in reality and then Ilya's parents in her imagination, just like Red Like Roses Part 2 is RWBY imagining Summer, and I think that's pretty cool. Also, you guys said in another video you guys found it easier when I read out all the lyrics, so I'll do that. So Jeff starts, child or daughter, sit while we talk a while. You've done no misdeeds, still they put your life on trial. So I feel like, obviously, like, it's basically that Ilya is old enough to understand, like, that she is a Faunus, you know what I mean? And that, you know, it's sort of like he's trying to explain to her how the world works for the Faunus. Because I feel like as a kid, you know, you don't really know, you know, like, you don't really think about stuff like that. Like, and so she may not see herself necessarily different from her friends, but it's like now as she gets older and the differences are going to start to happen, right? You know, because kids don't really have bias. Kids are taught bias by their parents. And so as a kid gets older, whether it's the people that, you know, Ilya will interact with, like basically like people that interact with her in her childhood, you could say, are, I think it's like they're almost gonna grow up and they're gonna start to hate her, almost, like, which is pretty sad, but I think that's how things are kind of going down here, and that's kind of the message that they're trying to get across. Born like your family, far from any state of grace, you're as perfect as the wind and sky, but they'll treat you like you're out of place. Born like your family could be referencing, again, she's a Faunus, or that, you know, far from any state of grace, I feel like is also a reference to not just that they're Faunus, but also that they are, like, I guess you could say working class, right? They're working in the dust mine or whatever. The grace, quote-unquote, would be the rich people in Atlas society, which we'll get to later. Like, the rich and the elite are the grace, and they are far from any of that, right? And so her father's not only like, hey, you're not only a Faunus, but you're also poor, right? Like, that's kind of what's going on here. And I think that her father, like, is reassuring her that she is perfect as she is, and I think it's pretty important, for, like, Ilya as her character and, like, whatnot, right? But they'll treat you like you're out of place. And I think that that could have a double meaning, because Faunus, like, son, are like, she doesn't look like a Faunus, but also people, if they knew she was a Faunus, would treat her differently. And so it's almost like she doesn't necessarily have a place with the Faunus, and she doesn't necessarily have a place with the humans unless she hides or embellishes one trait. So, right, her mask has the horns on it, so that's embellishing a trait, so the Faunus will treat her like she is like them, right? Or, you know, hiding the fact that she is a Faunus, that would make her, quote-unquote, in place with the humans, right? And here's where I think things really get interesting. So this world is cold. The power's with those who would judge and control, but we have a chance to make it right for you. This is what you'll do. So I think this is Ilya's mom at this point, and they're saying probably like in Atlas, the world here is controlled by the rich. You know, the comparison can kind of be made, right, in comparison to Weiss's song, right, because they say the world is cold, right, and to an extent, Weiss's world, for the time being, was controlled by Jacques, and so it's sort of the same thing, like, they, the oligarchy or whatever in Atlas, like, they are making the world cold, right? But by Ilya's parents working in Atlas, they're giving her the best chance to go to an elite combat school and, like, all that sort of stuff, right? And so here is where I think things start to change. So I think show them how you smile is only for a while. Is still Ilya's mother. And I think it's supposed to be that Ilya should smile through adversity, right? But then the words end up getting distorted. So this is where I think things change. Like, all of this was in the past when they had that first conversation with her. Say she's like, I don't know, say she's like 7 years old, right? That seems like a good age, right? But now we jump to the future where a grown Ilya is sort of imposing her own values onto her parents, and that's where take what you need, leave them to bleed, let them know bitter while your revenge is sweet. Like, that's where that comes in. Because I think that that's where Ilya starts to imagine what her parents would say if they saw her now, if they had survived the dust mine. Maybe Ilya believes that after the death of her parents, if they were still around, this is what they would want her to do, this is what they would say, right? And so Ilya's own thoughts and her own beliefs, right? Because she, you know, she broke their teeth, whatever, right? All of that stuff, you know, has taken shape of her parents, but they no longer are her parents. They're like empty shells of her parents that they have stuck her own values in, right? Because Jeff confirmed that these are her parents talking to her throughout the song. But I think one interpretation could be, like I said, just like Red Like Roses, where Ruby is imagining what Summer would say, Ilya is imagining what her parents would say if they had all joined the White Fang together, right? And so she is imposing her own thoughts onto the memory of her parents. The alternative answer is somewhere along the way, right, they were radicalized by the White Fang. I don't think this interpretation is as powerful, and I think that Ilya's parents being distorted in Ilya's mind is so much more interesting for her character. Right? Because Blake asks Ilya, is this what your parents would have wanted? And she never answered, but I feel like if they were radicalized, I guess the answer would be like, the saddest part is, Blake, they would have wanted me to do this because they were poisoned, just like me. You know what I mean? Poisoned by the White Fang, right? But I feel like, for the sake of the video, I'd like to go with distorted Ilya voices, and the worst part could be, like, she could respond to Blake, like, Blake, the worst part is that I thought that they would want that because I made myself think that they would want that. You know what I mean? And so it's two different things, right? It's two different sort of scenarios, and I like this one better. So keep the secret, pretending you're just like them. That was obviously a reference to her time in Atlas, pretending she was just regular, I guess, normal. Live there like a princess in a kingdom full of selfish men. So that's referencing two things, I think. Or at least, I think it's a double meaning, right? Ilya is hiding in plain sight, obviously, with all the other elite girls or children or whatever, going to the special combat school. Ilya also says in the Black trailer, I think, that she felt like a princess while she was at Atlas, and when you have people like Weiss around, you can see why. Blake, at that time, right, I think that it would be interesting if that was also a double meaning, like it was also a dig at Blake, like that Blake was living like a princess, like in Menagerie, while everyone else was suffering, because I think somebody says that. I think it's like, whoa, you're basically a princess, or something like that, and so I think that that's kind of like, you know what I mean? I think that's kind of like there too, if that makes sense. And so I think it could easily have that double meaning. Like, knows that she lived like a princess, but she's also like, yeah, Blake, you go and live there like a princess while we're all suffering, you know what I mean? It could just be a double meaning, but I think the first one is more important. Play their game now, do what it takes to win, steal it back, all they keep from you, they refuse to look beyond your skin. So this, again, I think, obviously trying to pretend to blend in so she can get her revenge later. This is obviously all Ilya talking, though, because I think that, you know, these are her words now, because it's like, you know, this is her experience, like, having to pretend and being a princess in a school in Atlas. This doesn't seem like necessarily her parents telling her, what to do. It seems like Ilya talking to herself, like, how Elsa's like, don't let them in, don't let them see, you know, in Frozen or whatever, you know, she's talking to herself and what she thinks that she has to do, and almost talking to herself in, like, a third person, sort of weird way, right? They can't look beyond her skin is obviously a reference to her, skin color changing. So this is where I think it goes back to her real dad. So, and as you grow, you'll gain from their knowledge, but your heart will know when the time is right to end the lie. You'll know what to do when the charade is through. So I think that this is Ilya's back to her real dad, because, like, all the bloodshed talk, like, that's not here. Like, when Ilya's parents are talking, I think, as themselves, they're talking about her growing and sort of, like, yeah, growing as a person, like, gaining knowledge and everything else, right? And so I think that they are the ones who told Ilia to keep her identity a secret, and that fits. But I think that this is back to Ilia's true dad and not, say, the distorted voices in her head, right? And I think that, you know, Ilia's parents seem like, you know, sort of nice, right? They were like, you know, like, they explained to her, I guess, how the world may be for her, and they said, hey, we want to do what's best for you, we want you to grow from their knowledge, you know, but you have to stay hidden in whatever, right? But I think that after this, when we go back to the chorus, where it's just Casey singing and whatever, like, I feel like she's almost replying. So she remembers her dad being like, hey, you'll know when to end the lie, you know, when you're ready, after you kind of get all the experience you need from them, from the combat school and whatever, right? And so I think that her reply, the show them how you smile, it's only for a while, take what you need, leave them to bleed, all of that, is her basically saying, yes, Dad, I showed them how I smile and I broke their teeth while I did it when I stopped lying about who I was, right? She's almost replying to him because he's saying, you'll know when to end the charade, and Ilia in the future is being like, yeah, I knew exactly when to do it, right? And of course, Ilia's father would be dead at this point, so she never got to respond to him. But I think that the pre-chorus with Jeff is Ilia's father in the past, and then this is Ilia in the future replying, right? And I think that the bridge again with Jeff is where it kind of goes back to Ilia's distorted dad, because he's basically, you know, I think that we started from the past, right, where Ilia's parents explain the world to her, then we briefly jump to the future with Ilia's new attitude of, you know, take what you need, leave them to bleed, whatever, and then you go back to the past where it's Ilia at school, Ilia's father telling her she'll know when it's time to stop hiding herself. Then you have Ilia in the future replying to him, and so I think that we're just totally back in the present now, and this is Ilia's own thoughts about her friends and how people treated her, but they're coming from the voice of her father, so to speak. Like, he didn't actually say this, but these are her own inner thoughts, and she's giving them a voice through her father. Like, if her father could see her now, this is what he would say to her, sort of thing. So it's in her imagination. So, you know, you might think that maybe they're changing, you pray that their hatred is waning, and that's when it hurts most to find. The story unfolds, and the cruelty's exposed, you'll be glad you're not their kind. So I feel like that's all Ilia, right? Because her father would have been long dead as the quote-unquote story unfolded, right? Because they heard that her parents died in the dust mine, and they started laughing because they were so cruel, right? Her father wouldn't have been around for that. So I think this is more Ilia's like, I thought they would change, but they didn't, you know what I mean? And she's imposing that on the bridge, on her father. Right, because obviously, like I said, he wouldn't be here when the story, quote-unquote, unfolded, right? And then you have the course again, and then we're pretty much done. So, another answer here, I did mention this earlier, is that Ilia's parents did become radicalized, and this is kind of them all talking all the way through, in that they wanted their daughter to grow and prosper, but also had the duality of take what you need, leave them to bleed as soon as they join the White Fang. But I don't think that's as powerful as an interpretation. I'm not saying that it's wrong to think that. Like, obviously, I'm giving you guys, like, sort of that option as well, that could be, you know, totally how the song was supposed to convey to an extent. But I think that Ilia sort of hearing her parents in her head, like, not literally, obviously, but treating their memory this way, like I said before, Blake's line of would your parents want this would be more powerful, because she would realize that basically she was putting words in her parents' mouth in traits that she would give them that weren't even theirs to justify her own actions, right? That her parents were, like, nothing but good, kind, hardworking people, and she tainted them with what she would want them to say to her to justify her bad actions and her joining the White Fang for her own benefit. And I think that's a very interesting sort of twisty twist on things, I guess. But anyway, it's up to you guys. It depends on what you think. Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys want to support us, you can check out our Patreon to join our Discord server and talk with us more. We will see you guys later. Bye, guys.